Hello, welcome to the first day of Claiming Your Magic, our online retreat celebrating the release of my new daily reader, 365 Days of Goddess, which is a devotional companion to guide you through a full year of sacred experiencing and everyday magic. Each day of this retreat, I have chosen a prompt word, and so the prompt for today, for day one, is dedicate or devotion. We're working with the concept of devotion, but also the concept of dedication. And then overall, the theme for today is the magic of the goddess, how to connect. How do we connect? And if you have a different spiritual practice, like I particularly walk a goddess-centered path, but if you're just interested in mindful living, magical experiencing, sacred living, you can substitute another word there for the magic of the goddess, the magic of the sacred, everyday magic, the spirit, universe, etc. So I do come from a goddess-centered perspective. And so our question, each day I'm going to offer the theme and the prompt word, and then also a question for journaling to carry with you as we work with the day's material, with the idea that you would carry this question throughout the day and into your other experiences, your other practices. One of the things I am passionate about is that spirituality, the sacred, the magic of the everyday, it underlies our whole lives. It's not something that we just stick in a little box on our altar. It's not something that we reserve only for special occasions, but it's something that permeates our whole lives, our whole worlds. Our lives are our own living prayers. Like we are our own sacred spaces. We carry the spark of the infinite with us always. And so our whole lives have the potential and the possibility and the invitation to be permeated in, around, and through with sacred experiencing and magical living. And so the journaling question that I would like to offer to you is, I am in devotion to. And then pay attention, be alert for what you are in devotion to in a regular day. And the devotion sometimes is something that we don't necessarily like to see. Like, are we in devotion to checking our Facebook? Are we in devotion to scrolling through our phones? Are we in devotion to thinking critical thoughts about everybody that we meet? Like, where is our devotion? What are you in devotion to? What are you dedicated to? What is your life dedicated to? And this is meant to crack the door of possibility open, not to shame and blame you or to imply you should be different or better than you already are, but to crack the door open to inquiry, to exploring, to discovering, and to living more consciously and intentionally and mindfully as you, because this is your life. This is your life right here, right now. So you might as well love it. It might as well be full of joy and delight and wonder and magic, because this is what you've got, and this is where you are. So I am in devotion to. And devotion, I've written 3 devotionals, the most recent one being 365 Days of Goddess, but also Whole and Holy, a Goddess devotional, and then also the original Goddess devotional with the pink cover that I don't have at my fingertips right now. But devotion can be a scary word for people, particularly if they have some scars from religions past. And one of the things that I like to come back to is the idea that, and I heard this from Galia Alena, but I don't know where that, she was quoting somebody else, so I'm not exactly sure where it came from. Discipline numbs the mind, but devotion liberates it. So our devotional practices our devotional practices are about liberating ourselves, about stepping into wholeness, about claiming our magic, about inhabiting our own lives in full. That's what devotion is about. It's not about discipline in the way of like numbing yourself or being devoted to doing it right. Devotion is about stepping into our lives in full and being here for our own lives. And so to begin, I've kind of launched right in, but to begin, I would like you to invite you to tune in to your own magic of place. One of my favorite practices, and one of the things that I would love to invite you to explore during these days of our retreat together, is to connect with the magic of place, the magic of where you are, not somebody else's idealized version of where you are, not even the concept of the wheel of the year as we see replicated in imagery or in books or in calendars, but instead the magic of your place where you actually are right now. What is growing around you, what is flourishing around you, what is withering around you, what is present where you actually are. So I'm a huge fan of tuning into the magic of place and connecting with the elements of your place right here, right now. So I would love to invite you to take a moment of pause. I realize that I launched right into my themes and ideas for this day. So take a moment of pause and let yourself come into your body, into where you are right here, right now. This body, this place. Remembering that you are an elemental altar, that you are your own sacred space, that you are whole and holy right where you stand. That the pulse of the sacred is in your very own skin. That the breath of grace is in your very own chest. And resting with that, then allow yourself to cast your attention out to the West in alternatives or goddess-centered, pagan, neo-pagan, Celtic spiritual practice. We often turned to the directions to invite and invoke and celebrate the north, the east, the south, and the west. But in practice rooted in the magic of place, I invite you to locate that symbolism, those physical landmarks, that magic in your actual place where you are, rather than consult a chart of correspondences or associate the elements rigidly with a certain framework. So, if you know the direction of the West where you are right now, I encourage you to turn to the West. Since I'm filming, I'm not going to be able to do that since I want to keep looking at the camera, but the West for me is this direction. And so turning to the West, I invite you to cast your attention out to what you actually see in the West where you are right now. And if you are in a building, which you probably are, you can cast your attention out past the walls of that building to what you know is there in the physical landscape. Maybe it's a hill, maybe it's a river, maybe it is a tree, maybe it is a valley, maybe it is a field. But allow yourself to sense what is actually in your own West right now. And you can use your own home. So if you see something like I'm looking over and I see a cedar pillar that holds up the ceiling of our studio building. And so for me, cedar is in the West. So I would greet and honor cedar in the West right now. And then turning to the north, which for me is behind me, and letting yourself cast your attention out to honor what there is in the north for you right now. What is there? What do you see? What do you feel? What do you experience? And you can cast your attention out into the landscape, beyond the walls. What's there in the north, really, right here, right now? Not anybody else's idea of what should be in the north, but what's in your north. For me, it is oak trees and the forest. And then turning your attention to the east. Your east. What is in your east? And it could be something in your physical landscape that you can actually see, or you may cast your attention out beyond that to what's in your landscape's actual east. For me, it is the pear trees. And then turning your attention to the south, your south, and letting your attention go maybe to what you can actually see, maybe extending beyond the walls into your south. What is there? And for me, it is the field. Okay, so here we are, claiming our magic. And I invite you to take a deep breath and then speak the name of the goddess aloud. If there's a goddess that you specifically work with, that you're dedicated to, you may speak her name. You may also just say goddess, or you may say sacred, universe, life itself. And we're going to offer 3 breaths of presence from this place of wholeness, from this place of center. First, a hand against our forehead. And offer a breath from here, your center of curiosity. And then a hand against your heart. And offer a breath from here, your center of compassion. And then a hand against your belly. And a breath from here, your center of creativity. Goddess, guide me. Peace, fill me. Life, weave me. And then I have a prayer to offer before we start talking a little bit more about goddess-centered spiritual practice and about claiming our magic. Goddess, guide me. Pour your inspiration through me. Bathe me with clarity, insight, and trust. Lead me through underworlds of questioning and doubt and into open spaces where courage grows and creativity blooms. Dance with me into delight. Walk with me into the expansive. Grant me patience and grace. Steep me in your cauldron of restoration and renewal. Remind me that I carry my own magic, that I am free to choose and free to change, that your light burns within me every day. I am in devotion to life herself. So coming back to that question, I am in devotion to. I am in devotion to. You may wish to write about it if you have a 30 Days of Goddess prayer book or another journal. You may wish to dance it out. You may wish to move it through your body. You may wish to sit quietly with your hands on your heart. I am in devotion to. To me, devotion shines within me like a brave and wild flame. It is a sacred purpose that fuels me and feeds me, nourishes and sustains me. I think it is important to remember in devotional practice that it isn't a chore, it is a practice, a flame we tend, a promise we keep, a sacred path to follow. And our practices can nourish and support us. They can bless us and keep us. They can hold us and restore us. We're here to live our magic. And these practices and promises that we make nourish and support us, fuel us and feed us. They help us step into that magic, to name it and to claim it and to know it and to be it. Devotion liberates us. I feel like I often return over and over. My prayers often return over and over again to the same things. May I be present. May I be centered. May I be whole. May I listen to myself. May I trust what I hear. May I live my magic. And may I be brave enough to live these prayers. So let's be brave enough to live these prayers together. And so I'd like to share some thoughts with you from the Whole and Holy devotional, because in this first day, thinking about the magic of the goddess and how to connect, and even though I have a new book, I'm revisiting some things from the old book because there's a lot of good things in here about the basics of practice and how to connect. And so the opening prayer from that book is, I hear, I hold, I enfold, I am. A song of devotion is on my lips. Renewal is in my blood. Joy is at my fingertips. Rage and joy, fear and hope, sorrow and delight. It is all here right now, whole and holy. The goddess is in the details. For me, it began with a craving, it began with a yearning, it began with desire, it began with longing. I learned of the goddess and I yearned to know her more deeply, to feel her at work in my life, and to know myself as connected, whole, held, and at peace. At first, I engaged with her symbolically as a concept, an ideal, and an image. I viewed her through a socio-political, cultural, and anthropological lens, and I knew her as having value on a political level and holding power on a personal level as an image, symbol, and ideal. I glimpsed her. I felt whispers of her. She danced at the edges of my awareness, but I didn't know her in the way I longed to know her. Then came birth and mothering, which for me were transformational doorways and openings into change. There are many thresholds into transformation. It does not have to involve birth and mothering. For me, birth and mothering were a doorway into the embodiment and the physical presence of the goddess in my life. And then came practice, ongoing, steady, devoted practice, each day to the woods to sit on a stone and listen. Was this the voice of the goddess or the voice of my own heart? I didn't know, but after time I came to see it didn't matter which it was because I had the opportunity to listen. Whether it was from my own heart or whether it came from her, the voice was worth listening to and worth attending to. Then came group practice, circling with others in ceremony, sisterhood, and song. Here I knew the goddess again as image and ideal, a microcosm of the macrocosm, a statement about the world I wish to live in, the life I wish to see, the connections I want to help unfold. She is here, reflected in all these faces, all these experiences, all these stories. She's not only found in childbirth and mothering, but she's found everywhere, alive and embodied and present right where we are. Then came sorrow and grief. And in that walk through grief is when I came to really know her as real, a living presence weaving her way through the world and into my days. No longer an image or an ideal, a metaphor, an archetype. The goddess was present in my life as real and certain, as whole and encompassing, as earthy and embodied, as present and palpable as any other experience of my physical world. I came to see, hear, observe, witness, touch, and rely on her presence in each day as it is expressed and visible in the natural world around me, as it is experienced in the dream time and in flashes of insight and oracle. Then came knowing, then came devotion. So Barbara Ardinger writes in the book, Practicing the Presence of the Goddess, I believed then and still believe today in the inalterable fact that we dwell and dance the dance of our lives in the presence of the goddess. In her presence every day, we sleep, awake, and go to work or school. But we get so busy doing all of these things that we often forget where we really are. Modern life may make it very difficult to remember the presence of the goddess. Devotion and devotional practice is what brings us into active relationship with that presence. It's what sets us back down into our souls and opens our eyes to what is right in front of us and what is right beneath our feet. It brings us home into ourselves and into her. So the goddess for you may be figurative or literal. She may be named She may express herself in a specific form, sensation, or experience. She may have a distinct character or personality for you, or she may be unnamed, felt, broad, and encompassing, a general wide sensation of awareness, presence, connection, and support. And I'm not going to continue going on and on from that because I'm already getting to really the end of my time that I had allotted for this first day. But what I really wanted to encourage you to step into is that awareness of what is around you all the time, that current that underlies your life. There's a current of the sacred that underlies your life. That is your magic. I'm inviting you to step into it, to sense it, and to come to know it. And I did want to share some ideas with you about how to make that connection. The theme for today is the magic of the goddess and how to connect. And so I wanted to share a few brief ideas with how to connect to a goddess or to the sacred. I will also offer supplemental resources. So there's a video for you about devotional rhythm. There's a video about ideas for how to make space for the sacred and ideas for connecting to the magic of place. And so these are just some ideas about connecting with a goddess in particular, but those other resources are available to you too as you consider this question of how to connect. And so one way is to invite connection and be open to the connection. These are some ideas from my book, Walking with Persephone. So set an intention, make a commitment, and offer an invitation. If you're open to this, as I said in my section about first came longing. First, I just longed to feel it. And I had these glimpses. And that's one of the things I find about claiming your magic and being worried about losing your magic is sometimes we have this clarity of insight. We have these flashes of enchantment. We have these doorways into magic, and then they kind of fade and we feel stale and crumbled again. And we're kind of like, oh, and we have that longing, where is that magical feeling? Where is it? And we're human. We have broad, real human lives that include all kinds of things. And so sometimes we will still feel stale and crumbled. Sometimes we will feel broad and expansive and connected and magical. And for me, the power of devotion comes for showing up for it all. So showing up when I am stale and crumbled and showing up when I feel alive with enchantment. And the other thing I find is the more you show up, you find that the goddess shows up too. The more that you expect moments of enchantment to be there, the more that you tune your eyes to see the moments of magic, the more you experience them. The more you expect them to be there, the more they will be there. And the more opportunities you take to step into your magic, the more often you will feel it. And so inviting that connection, offering the invitation is a very important way of making that connection. I would suggest that this be verbally stated aloud, I am open to this connection, and possibly accompanied by an offering as well. And then create and find a sacred space and show up in it regularly, demonstrating your availability, your willingness, and your openness to this work. That space can be an altar that you build in your home, or it can be an outdoor space. I'm a big fan of connecting to the magic of your own place and to being in the sacred right where you are. So if you have a back deck, or you have a front porch, or you have a bench, or you have a garden, or you have even a pot of flowers, something that you can commit to, a favorite tree, a park that you can easily access. It needs to be something that you can easily access and that does not form a barrier to your engagement. So if it's something that you have to hike to get to, probably choose something else that's more accessible to you, that can be tended to and experienced every day if possible. And like I said, I have a little section of, or I actually don't think I said that. I have a little handout of simple daily rituals that I will share with you as well, so you can explore these daily rituals. And so the place it can be a windowsill, it can be a shelf, it can be a window itself. But the key is to visit it regularly, day after day, and to be committed to showing up in this space, to learning what you learn, to seeing what you can see, to listening to what you can hear, to observing what you can observe, and contemplating the interactions between all those things, like what you see, what you hear, what you dreamed that night, what you feel in that moment, what you sense around you. That can all interplay and interrelate and can introduce you to what that magic is inside. And then likewise, be alert for signs, symbols, and connections. So to me, it doesn't really matter if like which comes first. It's that what matters is that you're alert for them. So you can see the symbol and make the connection, or you can feel the connection and then see the symbol. It doesn't really matter like which comes first. You can have the dream and then feel, then see the bird, or you can see the bird and then have the dream and then draw the oracle card. But there's this interplay and interweaving of those many factors. And it also doesn't really matter if the symbol, in my eyes, it doesn't really matter if the symbol that you see is traditionally associated with a specific goddess. What matters is that you become alert for the connections and you start to sense how they weave together and become aware of the interrelationships, the opening to the possibility of magic in your life and divine connection as a real part of your life, or at least a real possibility. And then another option is to ask for a dream and then pay attention. I asked for a dream about Persephone and I did receive one. And it was a really powerful dream experience of Persephone and her underworld aspect that I then employed several months later in a final dedication ritual to her. Was that same imagery that I had received in the dream. You can also read, research, and study. I feel like sometimes we forget that our own sacred text is our own lives, and we don't necessarily need to go backwards in order to find what is meaningful to us. But it can be really useful to read, research, and study a goddess that you're interested in and to look into her traditional symbols and stories and associations. But we can also trust what we hear and what we feel as well. Pray and meditate, offering devotion daily, if at all possible, in a regular practice. Prayers can be in honor of, there's a whole series about prayer that will also be a supplemental resource during this retreat, so you don't have to get too caught up in wondering like what is prayer and why offer it. But prayers can be so many things. Many people think of them as only petitionary, like asking for things, and that is not how I view prayer at all. I believe in many ways prayer is a blessing. It is an offering. It is an intention. It is a statement, and it is an acknowledgement. It is gratitude. It is gratitude, and it is a type of bearing witness to your own life and to what you see here with you right now. And so for me, prayer is often celebratory, and or sometimes guidance focused, and sometimes it's just an honoring of what I feel. And John O'Donohue says that prayer is a deep and ancient conversation within us, and I like that. So likewise, writing a song, a prayer, or a poem and then repeating it often can really anchor it into you, can really be a way of tapping into your own magic every day, is to repeat a prayer, a poem, or a song and come back to it over and over again as its own kind of touchstone. I have prayers that I offer in the morning, and for me, they form that anchor, that fuel that fuels the rest of the day. Hold a ritual. You can hold a ritual of invitation, intention, or dedication, specific dedication. And then you can choose a physical symbol and dedicate it. I like jewelry. I have rings, I have necklaces, I have bracelets. They all have a reason. They all have a dedication. They all have an intention. And to me, we can touch those things and it can come, and that can reaffirm our connection. That can physically, it's a prayer we can hold in our hands. It's something we can come back to. That's one of the reasons I make my little goddess sculptures, is they're a devotional item that you can hold in your hand, a visceral connection, something that brings you into an actually physical sense of holding on or of being held. And so that is all I have time to share with you in this first day. But I hope it was some food for thought, especially with considering what you are in devotion to. And I want to go ahead and I have two things I'm going to close with, two prayers that I'd like to close with. And the one is this: because I trust myself, I lay a hand against my heart and I listen before I decide. Because I know what I need, I intentionally replenish my spirit every day. Because I love myself, I honor my own holy no and sacred yes. Because I carry my center of power within me, I am my own sacred space wherever I go. So I invite you to let this dedication prayer really soak into you. You may wish to repeat the lines after me, or you may wish to save it until you've allowed these thoughts and themes and practices to marinate within you, and then offer this dedication prayer when you feel like it's really coming from an inner wellspring. I do believe we have this inner wellspring and that it is fed by that current of the sacred that underlies our everyday lives. So a nice deep breath. Today, I dedicate myself to a path of wholeness, to living my own magic, to choosing with intention. I dedicate myself to a path of purpose, to everyday enchantment and ordinary miracles. I dedicate myself to returning to center, to leaning into the expansive, to claiming my own power, to living life in full. And then holding your hands in prayer pose at your heart, then lifting them to your lips, to your forehead, and all the way above your head. Thank you so much for being here. Keep claiming your magic. Bye-bye.